Local Volunteer Advisory Committee. We are so happy to be here with you tonight to overcome self-determination program barriers. We will attempt to make the harder parts a little bit easier altogether tonight. Welcome, everybody. Hopefully everyone is able to get settled and in here. Everyone has a nice big glass of water so they can hydrate while we're talking. And we will get started in just a minute. Kira, are we ready to get going?
We are just about to go live.
Okay. Wonderful. Welcome, everybody. Tonight, we are going to overcome some program barriers of the self-determination program altogether. My name is Kelly Kulzer-Reyes, and I am a mom, most importantly, of a regional center client, but not at Westside. And my wonderful colleagues here, Tim, Jin, and Kira are going to be with us to help us get through tonight's meeting. And Tim is going to talk to us about these barriers as well. It looks like we've got nice group of people here tonight. Thank you so much for being here. Are we good to get started, Kira?
We're good to go, Kelly. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We have two amazing interpreters with us this evening. Thank you, Maya, and thank you, Lorna, for helping our Spanish speakers out. And we are going to get started. So Tim and I work, oh, sorry, go ahead, Tim. Actually, maybe Lorna wants to also, or Maya wants to make sure everyone here knows how to get to the Spanish interpretation. Tim, were you going to say something? Okay, go ahead.
My name is Tim Jin and I am not from Westside Regional Center, which is too bad because Orange County can learn a lot from your wonderful committee.
Tim, thank you so much. And I'm not sure if our interpreters are able to do this, so I'm going to just let you know quickly in Spanish. Si usted guste hablar, escuchar la presentación en español, si usted puede hacer clic en el globo que tiene el globo como mundial y escoge el idioma Spanish o español en su pantalla. Again, thank you. If you are here and you need Spanish, just go ahead and click on that round globe-like picture and so that you can select Spanish as the language that you prefer. All right, just a little bit of housekeeping for you here. English is outlined in blue and Spanish in orange on your screen. English is often located in, oh, go ahead, Tim, I'm sorry.
Kelly, we forgot to introduce Carla.
I didn't see Carla here. I'm so sorry. Thank you. Your chair for the Westside Regional Center's Local Advisory Committee, Carla Lehman, is here this evening. And if she is available, we'd love to have her introduce herself quickly. Tim, thank you so much. I can't see people on my screen, so I thank you. Carla, are you willing and able to introduce yourself for us?
Hello, everyone. Hi, Kelly. Hi, Tim. Thank you so much for being here today and giving this wonderful presentation. Last week was amazing, so we're so happy that you're here again this week and that we're going to have 2 more. So please, everybody, join us. And also next Tuesday at 6 p.m. is the Westside Regional Center Self-Determination Advisory Committee meeting. So please join us there as well. I'll put the link for the Zoom meeting for next week for the committee meeting. Thank you.
Carla, thank you so much. And Tim, thank you for catching that because I just can't see as much as you can. So also, just so you know that the screens that I've created for your slides have English and Spanish both on most of them. The English is outlined in blue and Spanish is outlined in orange. English is often, almost always, located on the left side of the screen and Spanish on the right. And then English on the top and Spanish on the bottom, just so that I'm being consistent. And then just make sure you choose the language that you prefer to use. I have to choose English so that when I'm speaking English, you guys hear me in English. So you might need to do the same thing. All right. And if you have questions, we do have a wonderful staff member. Kira is monitoring the chat for us. And if you put questions or comments or you're having trouble into the chat, they'll be able to help us there. Okay. All right. So we've got that under control. Welcome this evening. I'm sure very few of you have ever had barriers in your life, but sometimes we have some. So we're going to talk about those barriers that many of us have experienced, myself included, with the self-determination program, the rollout, the timelines, those kinds of things. And it's not so much that we can fix everything tonight, but you've got a couple of things that are really helpful about this topic. If there's a solution that you've experienced that you can share, I'm going to invite you to do that either in the chat or by raising your hand, and we'll unmute you or you'll unmute yourself. I'm not sure which one today. And we will make sure that we share our fabulous ideas about barrier reduction during this presentation tonight or this training. But one of the barriers that we talk about, I mean, the common barriers we talk about are understanding the timeline that Westside has, making sure we understand the self-determination program timelines from like DDS and what they think is supposed to happen. So that's one thing we're going to talk about. Another, and I think this is a common challenge throughout our community, is finding a financial management service. So for Westside clients and participants, I have reached out to all of your financial management services to see what they say. Oh, and I know you're going to be not very surprised. I didn't get very many responses. So we're going to share what we've learned and then maybe think of strategies that will help us do better in that area. One thing that's become a barrier or a challenge might be something like knowing about generic resources and why they are so wonderful. Because I know from the traditional system, a lot of us have struggled moving into self-determination and really embracing generic resources as a way to extend our own self-determination spending plans and the associated budget. Knowing what Westside Regional Center has available to you. These are some really important things that I'm hoping will be useful to you and your loved ones. And then finding staff or positions that you have written into your spending plan is another area that I'm hoping to get some great ideas, both from you and hopefully to share with you tonight. All right, so one question a lot of people have is, what do I do? What do I do next? What is the idea of self-determination? It's like, I've done the orientation. Now what? So you've got two things you could be doing at the same time. You can work on your individual budget with the regional center, and you can also be creating your person-centered plan. You don't have to wait for those two things to happen, like one has to be done, then the other. You can do them both at the same time. Because when you request that individual budget from your service coordinator, it might take them a little bit of time to get that together. But the person-centered plan could be something that you're working on all the time, once a week, over the course of a month. And you can either be doing that independently, all by yourself, or you can find a person-centered planner to support you in that process. And then the next parts, you've got develop your spending plan and services, find your FMS and your staff, and then work with your regional center. As you can see, oh, go ahead, Tim. Thank you.
Kelly, we forgot one more person.
Shoot.
Alex Mankiewicz with Westside Regional Center. He is the SDP manager. Sorry to interrupt you.
I don't think you're sorry to interrupt me, but I thank you for interrupting me. Alex, would you be willing to come on camera and make sure people know who you are?
No.
He's not willing to? Did he tell you no? Oh, not Alex. Alex is a good sport. Alex Marquez is the self-determination. Is it program manager? I'm not sure if that's his title. He better correct me. Maybe he's eating dinner and he doesn't want to come on, Tim. Okay, if you see him, like, wave or anything.
Maybe during halftime.
Is it halftime? Or if we have time? Okay, so if we have time, we'll make sure we get him on later. So thank you so much. So as far as the different steps go, this is kind of a good idea of which things are happening first and what are happening at the same time, and what things you can be working on simultaneously, or, you know, you want to do one piece at a time. And this page actually comes from the Disability Voices United's book called Think Outside the Box, which has been really helpful to me. And I use it with my clients as well. So that's something just to keep in mind. So, and they have this both in English and in Spanish. So if you want this in Spanish, you've got some options here. All right, so we're going to talk about finding a financial management service. And some of the challenges that we hear about are wait lists, right? And then different requirements at each financial management service at the FMS. So what I'd really like to do now is look to see if anyone has had some great suggestions from your community that have worked to actually find supports and to find the financial management services and get those responses in a faster way. Has anyone had a good time with breaking down this particular barrier? I see some chat action here. Oh, you still don't have a case coordinator, so you've had to do almost everything yourself. That does make it really difficult, right? So let's see here. Oh, I see Alex put it in the training. Let's see here in the chat area as well. All right, so here are a couple of things. When we have questions about finding a financial management service, I think we should send them all to Alex, because he probably knows everything that we don't know. So if you have a question about anything self-determination related, and maybe he would tell you things that we don't know about Westside's relationships with their financial management services, he's got some great, might have some great ideas. Hopefully he'll be willing to share those ideas with us in a little bit. Huge wait lists for FMSs are a really big concern. They are a very big problem. And it seems like because each FMS has its own way to moderate or to figure out how to do their wait list, it's becoming a little bit more difficult. One of the things I've noticed is that some of the regional centers, some of the financial management services have a very high employer burden rate and a very low threshold for how much your spending plan can be. Those might be the easier ones to get into, but they're a little more expensive to run through your plan. But then you've got some other ones that are a little more, that are willing to take a larger budgets. And if you are a family that needs a lot of support, or you're a participant who needs a lot of support, you're going to really need to be careful with which ones you are exploring, because they might not be able to help you. Found one twice within a week. Let's see here. Excellent. All right, let's take a look at the Westside Regional Center's FMS list here together. So these are the different FMSs who work with your community. And I know not everybody here is from Westside, but this is Westside's thing. So I want to make sure you get the information about your regional center's FMS list. You've got Acumen, Aviana, Fact Family, GT Independence, which doesn't officially have a wait list, but they have some pieces in place that you have to meet in order. And actually, they're one of the two that responded to the FMS information. They can have you meet with a field services representative to get prepared for intake, and they have an enrollment checklist. So if you are like really close and you're ready to go in, this might be an option for you. Mainsel has an interesting waitlist system. You have to call in on a day that it's like one day in a month for a date many months in the future. That's one system. I'm trying to just share with you what the systems are, not whether or not I like the systems. Ritz Vocational Management has both bill payer and co-employer. 24-hour home care has bill payer and co-employer. And then the only two that offer, the only three that offer all three forms of the FMS models are Fact Family, GT Independence, and Mainsel. When I did reach out, the message I received from Essential Pay, which is also listed on your DDS page, is thank you for contacting Essential Pay. At this time, we are no longer accepting new clients. We are very sorry, or we're sorry for any inconvenience this may cause. So I would not recommend reaching out to that one. You can save one email that way. So the other ones are the ones that you have as options, as far as I know, assuming the DDS website is up to date and completely accurate. These are the ones that are listed for Westside. All right. Now, generic resources are really an important part, but as far as barriers go, one thing that we can talk about is how do you figure out the generic resources? How do you find the things that you don't even know exist yet? One idea that has come up kind of often that I really like is to create your own meetup group. So the part of your spending plan might include your staff member who is a community living coach, right? And that individual supports the participant in participating in community at home and out in the world, right? One thing that you can do is create your own meetup group or use the Meetup app to find things of interest to you. Your independent facilitator can help you with this if that's something that a service they provide, but you can look for this yourself. Now, of course, we want to be safe and be looking at concerns with the community. However, you can use this as one way to start to find the events that you want to participate in. So maybe you love cooking and you really want to join a cooking group, but maybe your regional center is saying you can't do that. I'm looking at you, Tim Jin, right? Because who knows, maybe things will not go exactly the way you're hoping. Maybe you can find a meetup group that does this and you can just get together with people in a more organic and natural way, and you just chill and hang out together. And then you also have the opportunity to have your staff accompany you into those settings. Tim, do you have anything to add to ideas about generic resources? Really? You would seem like you would be the king of generic resources to me, and you're not? Well, that's disappointing. Are there any ideas that you have about something that's amazing in your community? I've got 133 participants here. I bet at least half of you have a good idea. So I only want half of you to do this right now. Half of you write a great idea about something in your community that you really love to do or that you think is worth sharing with others. So the other half of you is also going to do this because you don't know which half of you it is. So everybody right now, type in one thing into the chat that you love to do that's in your community that is something of value your community has. I'm going to type mine in too, okay? I'm going to type it to everyone, and I'm going to type in First Fridays in, and I'm in Bakersfield. So that's mine, First Fridays in Bakersfield. Now swimming at LA City Aquatics. Geocaching. Oh, I love that. We have great ones up in Pine Mountain Club. San Jose, the BFF project for folks to meet regularly. These are great. You can do any buying food, Autism on Tap. What is that? Tell me more. Audubon Pasadena, how cool. You guys have great ideas. Our SDP support group in Grass Valley, that's great. Going to Special Olympics, horseback riding lessons, Andy and Aiden safety group, practicing safety with PD in Orange County. These are great ideas. Oh, sponsored by San Francisco Bay Area Autism Group. I was actually kind of hoping that they have beer there, but maybe it's not that kind of on tap. So, yes, beer. Oh, Claudia. Oh, I think you might be my people. Let's do this. Let's all go to San Francisco and do the work on the autism group with Jill Escher. Sounds great. All right. So First Fridays in Paramount. You guys have First Fridays too. That's wonderful. Creative Mornings. Where is Creative Mornings located? Art Walks in Oceanside. Ooh, nice. Okay, so you guys all have, oh, that sounds great. Buying the first trip. Cinemas with sensory friendly days. Beautiful ideas. Farmers markets, adaptive paddle boarding. It looks like we have some wonderful, wonderful ideas here. And thank you to everybody who's figured out that how to make those generic resources and community events really work well for your community. Those are fantastic. I'm hoping that my friend Kira is saving all of those for us so that we can maybe come up with a list later on. All right. So, Creative Mornings is an online group for professional and personal growth. That's very cool. Angels on Stage, Anna Wang's group. I feel like I've heard her name before. Okay, so knowing Westside Regional Center, know this. And if you're not from Westside, does your regional center have the same thing? And how would you find out? So Westside has a participant choice specialists run a monthly independent facilitator roundtable. And that would be a great thing to have help with, right? So if you know that your independent facilitator or you are your own independent facilitator, you might want to check it out and see if there's a support from your regional center. Westside has this. If you're at Westside and your IF is not attending this, maybe you want to let them know. There is this great opportunity to meet with Alex Marquez and just to fix problems. These are great things. And also, like Carla mentioned earlier, I included your local advisory committee that meets monthly on the second Tuesday. And correct me if that's wrong, please, Carla. March 14th is the next meeting. And I think, is that correct? Perfect. Did you have a chance to put your Zoom link into the chat for people? Perfect. Thank you so very much. So knowing what your regional center has for options and helps and supports is really important. Now, has anyone here ever had trouble finding amazing staff? Anyone? Yes, thumbs up. I have too. Thumbs up. So this is something that we're all going to think about together. You're in Westside. West LA College is right there. They have an option or like a a job forum for all of their community college students called College Central. College Central works statewide, and I think you have to select your area and when you're signing up. You might be able to meet with the dean of your local community college, in this case it's West LA, and have them help you set up your job description inside of the College Central program. This is a really great way to connect with students who are studying in the field that you're trying to get into, right? Like maybe you want human services students. Maybe you want a CNA. They have access to all of these kinds of applicants. So share those job descriptions that you're creating with your local community college so they can post it for you. You can try something like Indeed.com, and you can also do word of mouth. Now, I'd like anybody who's had a good luck with something in the chat, type up ideas that might be useful to you or useful to someone else. Then how have you found staff? Or what do you wish you would never do again? If you have like a good idea, just say good idea and then add it there. Or not a great idea, not great results. That's also nice to share. So we don't try to do something that might not be most advisable. Go ahead, Tim.
I attend very expensive gym to work out. It's almost like a sports club and high-end club. I've been a member there for a long time because I live in the same complex. But Goodwill of Orange County has their own fitness center in Orange County that is really affordable and have adapted equipment to use. Also, let's not forget that most community colleges has classes to work out and swim for people with disabilities, and they have students that will assist you in the gym or the pool.
Those are all great ideas. So if working out, and also your local park, I'm going to keep saying, I'm going to say this every time I'm in every meeting, disc golf, people, disc golf, find a disc golf place and you'll throw that Frisbee and chase after it, and they'll get me to go out and exercise. That's what we're going to, Tim, maybe you and I'll do that next time you come up to visit. It'll be fun. It's right by our house. We can walk there and we'll just go. You can use your wheelchair still, but I will walk there. It'll be fine. And it's accessible. I mean, you can get, well, maybe not where you throw the Frisbees, but where I throw the Frisbees, it'll be just fine. We'll make sure that we can get around that course all together. It'll be a great time. So those are some other ways to find staff. Are there any ideas? Kira, can you see any ideas in the chat? It's really hard for me to.
My head will be your moving target.
I can hardly wait. I'm not going to hit you with a Frisbee. That would be terrible. It will hurt a lot. Do you see any ideas in the chat that I should click back on?
I see something from Nathalie saying I found some good people at care.com.
Oh, good resource.
A bad idea from Amanda is Craigslist. And I did have a question a bit back of someone asking if there is a website specifically to go to find IFs and how they apply. And I think we're getting some answers in the chat, but if you have any additions to that, Kelly, that would be
I don't
great.
see the chat right now, but there is a California self-determination program, like a clearinghouse that I think is available. Do you know where that website is, Kira? Can you check and see if anyone's put that one out there? I think it's like CASDP network. Does that sound right? And so that's another place. I know that the IFs that I work with in Kern County on the Eastern Sierra have tons of experience and they're just awesome. But you know, those could be some amazing people too. Let's see. I'm going to click on the chat just in case. I love that someone said, please don't use Craigslist. Good choice. The cast neck. That's it. Thank you for putting the network in, Julie. Let's see. Oh, State Council has an updated list. Christiana, thank you so much for posting that. State Council, yep. Cesar and Christiana are both writing the same thing. So great minds think alike. Thank you for that. And then we've got the self-determination interchange as another from the Disability Voices United site. All right. So let's pause and think, what questions, what barriers have we been experiencing recently? And what are some possible ways to address those? So what I'd like you to do in that chat again, or raising your hand so we can talk about them, just stop for a minute and think. And what's one barrier you think that we could address, that we could do some brainstorming on together? All right. Does anyone have, maybe there are no barriers for you guys, but for my family, oh, you have one. Melanie, please go ahead. I need you to unmute yourself, please.
Mute. Okay.
There you are.
There I am. Okay, something that I talked about today with my caseworker from Alta Regional, and I was seeing Stephanie Hammond, she's in our area, she's been on the chat, is the difficulty between the FMSs being paid by the Alta Regional Center. It's huge. One of the reasons why we have this huge wait list for the FMS is because it kind of reminds me of the Medicare system paying the doctors. It's just not happening. So for instance, on my person-centered planning, my daughter's pay anyway, plan, she had a gym and that was paid for out of her spending plan. There's the thing I was waiting for. And this happened back in January, and they still haven't been paid from the Alta Regional Center. So these FMS companies aren't really excited to be working with the Alta Regional Company because they put out, you know, Aviana has paid out a lot of money for my daughter and Alta hasn't paid them yet. So the FMS is kind of sitting there like, well, why should we do anything when we're not getting paid back? And that's huge. And it has, I started this a year and a half ago, and I was very successful back in 21 and 22 getting started on self-determination. Now, all of a sudden, Alta Regional says, oh, well, you don't need the self-determination program. We'll be happy to pay for all of these things. A big BS right on that one. I can't get anything out of the Alta Regional Center. They are just pushing back on everything. And my finance company doesn't want to even pay for anything anymore because they're not getting paid back.
I think that that's a really important concern. It seems to be happening around the state that there are some regional centers out there who are struggling to pay their financial management services. I don't know that how to address that in this context, but I think one thing that we can do is be in touch with the ombudsman person's office to make sure that they know that there are some significant concerns. So if that's something that's a problem at your regional center, and I'm hoping, I haven't heard that as a huge problem with Westside's regional center. There are always going to be like specific cases where there's a problem, like every once in a while you'll have a problem, and I get that. But when it's one specific regional center that's consistently having the same problem, it's often the case where the problems are deeper than just one situation. So I think what you need to do for sure is contact the ombudsman person. I know nobody wants to hear that that's the solution, but even if it's just that they get a count for how many people at your regional center are having this problem, it's a start to make sure that they can like even figure out what to do next. But it's a big problem, and I hear you. Stephanie, I see your hand up. Go ahead. Okay, if you're speaking, I can't hear you. You're muted right now.
There we go.
There
Can
we
you hear me?
go. Yes, I can. Go ahead.
I was kind of gonna interject on what Melanie was saying, because I talked to Alta Regional Center also.
Okay.
It's because they are very, very severely short-staffed.
Okay. So, and as much as that's a
told
problem,
me
that's a
that that's
problem
what,
around the state, and people need their supports and their services. So we want to make sure that we are still doing our jobs. So I hear you, and I'm glad that there's a little background information there. But let's think about the barriers that we can address. And I see Mary's hand is up. Go ahead, Mary. Mary Schluter.
Hi, I'm sorry. I
Not
had
at
to
all.
unmute. I'm so glad I kind of stumbled upon this meeting late, but two things. What I hear people saying about the FMS makes me really concerned because we're about ready to transition in.
Okay.
But the other thing was, okay, I was working with the regional center to increase the personal assistant hours that my daughter has. And we got that. I'm very happy that they gave us some more hours. I also was asking for some mileage assistance, transportation, you know, the non-medical transportation part. And Elise is not going to a program. We're kind of creating our own program in different places out in the community to give her the experience that she needs out there. And they came back with they denied all of the mileage completely, saying that it was recreational. But I'm going to appeal it, and I'm going to come back with very specific places and learning objectives and things like that to see if we can get that. But what I'm wondering is if anyone has any advice for me as far as, we're supposed to have a meeting tomorrow, and I need to, you know, I can use that meeting to enter into SDP. We can start. I have some pieces of it in place. We aren't working with a separate IF right now, but that's one of the reasons I'm so happy to see the meeting. It's like, I just told my other daughter today, I said, I wish I could talk to an IF and just ask them if they think I should transition in and take care of the appeal for the transportation, you know, ongoing, or what the pros and cons would be as far as would it be better to wait and try and get that change to occur before, or just hop into SDP and start everything else going?
Well, you know, I can tell you that you can do it both ways. It's also harder to, you know, reopen budget sometimes, but what you really want to be doing is figuring out if you can, like, all of the parts for what you're trying to do. And maybe there are some ideas that people can share in that chat to give their experiences, because no one's going to know what you should do. They can just tell you what they did in that situation. So appeals take a long time, and I don't know exactly if you're trying to add funds to your
It will be
the budget, or if you are trying to just put them into your spending plan.
Right now, the way it is the budget will allow for the personal attendant, but nothing for non-medical transportation.
Okay, I think in your case, you might want to find a good independent facilitator who can really help you work through those pieces and figure out all the parts that you're talking about now. I'm so glad you found us tonight. Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah, I love the things you guys do. I love this. And
It's
so-
very kind. Thank you so much. We appreciate your support. Kira, go ahead.
Alrighty, I just put my hand up so I could ask some questions from the
I'm glad.
chat.
Thank you so much.
I have one from Susan, which says, what do we do when we get audited? What do we need to prepare? What do we do when regional centers don't want to approve unmet needs with clients? And I believe Judy would like to answer this one.
Go ahead, Judy. I don't see Judy.
Okay, I'm here. Sorry, I'm getting my home fixed at the same time, so I apologize. I have a handyman here. So I just wanted to focus on the audit, and then Kelly, you can take the other questions. So I know that a number of folks at various regional centers have received an email about their case being selected for an audit, and it's really important that I clarify what this is and what this is not for anybody who got this email. So first of all, it is not like an audit that you're getting audited by the IRS for your taxes. That's not what this is, number one. Number two, you are not getting audited. The regional center is getting audited, not you. And I'm very, very frustrated at the tone of regional centers who are saying to families, or individuals that you're getting audited, because you are not. You are the receiver of services, and the regional center has the contract with the government in order to follow government rules. So we are not being audited, the regional center is. So the regional center is now being audited on how they're keeping your case. And if they have neglected to do certain things, like have you sign your certified budget, or your IPP, or have you verified that it was done in a person-centered way, or any of those kinds of things, they need to clean up any of those issues that they have created because they didn't get things done according to their contract with the government. If there's any expenses that have been made that shouldn't have been, or that you're worried about, that's not your problem. That is the problem of the regional center and the FMS. So the way it works is that the state of California, along with the federal government, working with them, audits the regional centers because that's who they're contracted with. The regional centers have a contract with the FMSs, so they can audit the FMSs. No one's auditing you. So I have gone to DDS. I have said to them, I have grave concerns about the fact that people are getting what they're considering threatening emails from their regional center saying that they're getting audited. I should also tell you this. Regional centers get audited all the time for lots of different reasons. Every government contractor gets audited. Service providers get audited all the time. They expect this stuff to happen. They want to be transparent. So that's a good thing. When all of you were in the traditional system, which you all were before the self-determination program, your child or your case was likely audited at some point in your life, but you had no idea because in the traditional system, they keep us out of it. So my case is, why are you involving us in the first place on these audits? We're no different than the traditional system in that it's the regional center getting audited, not the individual. So I want to make that very clear. I'm going to continue the advocacy. Susan, please, I know Susan's a friend, forward me the emails that you've received about getting audited, because I'm trying to send them to DDS to show that the messaging needs to change and that all they should be doing is saying, listen, we found that in your file, you forgot to sign this, or this didn't happen. Could you please sign it? No mention of the audit, unnecessary. So I hope that's helpful, everybody.
So Kelly, I don't know if you want to take the second part of that question, but it was, what do we do when regional centers don't want to approve unmet needs of clients?
She can't unmute herself for some reason.
Let me take a look here.
Raise your hand and make her a co-host. It's probably the best idea.
Got off of co-host for some reason, Kelly, but you should be back on now.
That was the most fun. Thank you. That was great. Thanks, everybody. I love the little technical challenge. So I really appreciate Judy's stepping in with the information about the audit. I know I have heard that from many people, and I would love it if they would just change the message. Like, this happens all the time. This is not our problem. But Kira, I was so focused on trying to unmute myself. Could you repeat the question, my friend?
Absolutely. The second
Thank
half
you.
of Susan's question
Yes.
was, what do we do when regional centers don't want to approve unmet needs of clients?
I think it's a really important question. And when I'm working with a new family, this is what I typically say. If it's in the IPP and you've already expressed it as a need that has not been met, you can just share with the regional center, here is where you wrote down that this was a need, and use that. So you may want to take a look at your IPP. A lot of us, I think, prior to self-determination, didn't have a very serious relationship with the IPP process, probably because we were so tired from the IEP process that we already have to go through, right? And you get to this IPP and you're like, I mean, somebody comes in maybe once a year, if that. Sometimes they listen, sometimes they don't. Maybe you have a phenomenal service coordinator. We had a phenomenal one. Of course, you know what happened? They made her a program manager, which is great. Except for now we have a different service coordinator, and we've had 4 since we lost her. So you get tired of having to redo the IPP, but it's really important to make sure that your needs are clear in that process. It's really hard for someone to say you don't have a need when they wrote it down themselves, right? If you have it in that IPP, you have documentation, just like you had to in the past with your IEP, that says this is a need. And maybe in the past, what you thought was an appropriate service or support was the regional center will continue to monitor this particular need, which is not really helping with the need in most cases, but is often what I've found written into IPPs. So I think the first place you want to check is this a need that you've mentioned before, and is it documented in your IPP? Should it have to be? No, it shouldn't have to be, but it's harder to argue when it's in there, right? You should be able to say this is a need. I've also found that service coordinators don't like to find out that they're not meeting needs. They really prefer to hear that there are changes in circumstances. Then it's not that you're not doing your job, service coordinator. It's, hey, this is a thing that might be different or might be new now. I've found much less pushback when I'm saying this is a change in circumstances, assuming, of course, that it is a change and you're not trying to make something up. Of course, you want to be, genuine and accurate, but using change in circumstances seems to be less frightening to service coordinators than saying, I have unmet needs and you haven't done anything for the last 10 years of my daughter's life. Because that's really, no one wants to hear they're doing a bad job, right? I love my job. I want to do a good job. Service coordinators want to do a good job at their jobs too. And we don't always feel like we're empowered to do good jobs where we are. But if we can help people understand like what the needs are, and maybe there are slight changes in circumstances, that might be an easier thing to be able to say yes to. And actually, I like this note in the chat, providing support materials, but making sure that all those ideas are in that IPP really do help. If you already know you're going to be denied from your insurance, bring the denial letter. You know, if you already know that whatever, it just bring in all that documentation. The more we help our service coordinators with accurate and up-to-date information, the easier time they're going to have to take that idea to their boss to make sure that when they are audited, which they will be, that they've done all of the due diligence that they are required to do. They don't just get to answer to us, they also have their own hierarchy to deal with. So those are some of the ideas I think that might be helpful in that. Kira, did I get all the pieces of that question?
Yes, you did. We have some more questions if you want more of them, Kelly.
I'd like one more now, then I want to get to Dolores. I know she's waiting very, very patiently for me. Thank you, Dolores, for doing so.
The last one I'll give you is, this one's from Patricia. It says, what can be done if an FMS pays for a service that was never delivered despite being notified of non-delivery?
Ooh, so they paid for something that was in the spending plan approved, but the service was never rendered. Is that the idea? They never got the service? Am I understanding that?
That is my understanding of the question,
Okay.
but Patricia, if you have anything to add, please put it in the chat or we can unmute you if you'd like to speak.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. So, so one of the questions or one piece of that is, I think you need to talk to somebody at your FMS to figure out why that was paid for, but not received. That's probably the first problem there. And then I get some, like figuring out part might be some legwork on your part to figure out, like, they paid somebody, the entity received the funds, and then they're not providing the service. There are all kinds of ways to report things like that, but I would suggest talking to the ombudsperson's office. I would suggest Better Business Bureau. I'd suggest Yelp reviews. I'd suggest getting their attention in all formats that are needed until there's resolution in a way that is acceptable to you. I think that it's really important because self-determination it's like our responsibility, right? Yes, it's a lot of responsibility, but some of this is like, we have to do the legwork to make sure that those things are getting paid. And I'm not sure what the rest of the context is. So maybe that's already been completed. But those are the first ideas I have right there. Thank you. Tim, do you have anything to add to that? I saw you nodding your head. Because I'm awesome, right? That's what you were saying, Kelly, you're the best. Nobody else has to believe it. As long as Tim thinks it, it's okay with me. Thank you, Tim, for acknowledging that awesomeness. Dolores, go ahead. Can you unmute
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me as well. I'm kind of glad I jumped into this call because I'm learning so much from everybody and what everyone's going through. I just have one quick question about self-determination program and FMS info. You know, as a parent with two children on the spectrum, you know, we expect for these things to get harder and the education is needed. So is there a site where I can start reading about this in preparation to really educate myself so I could be a better advocate for the kids when it comes time to go through some of these processes?
So I think going to the SDP Connects every week is probably the greatest way. You can go back through all of the webinars on the DVU website.
Okay.
I think that's where I'd start. If you're new to self-determination,
Yes.
you have an updated copy of the Think Outside the Box book. I'm not trying to like just sell stuff. We make nothing on the book, I promise. But it's really like the best place with the most checklists and things like that.
Okay, perfect.
Those are the things I'd start with. And then
Okay.
making sure, I don't know if you're a Westside a person served by Westside, but at Westside, I would, or whichever regional center you're working with, I'd start going to their local advisory committee meetings, just have them on in the background, you know, just like listen in to see what issues are happening, listen to suggestions from that group. And that's a nice way to start making those barriers just really come down for yourself and for your loved ones. Those are my
Perfect.
first suggestions. And
Yeah,
if
those
other
are
people have
great.
other suggestions, feel free to include them in the chat. There are some
Perfect.
really cool things out there, and I think you can do all kinds of important preparation for yourself and your loved ones.
Very good. And then
Thank you for being here tonight. We appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you guys for having me. And then my second question is, if the regional center isn't providing the funding for services and Medi-Cal is, why do they, and I'm sorry if this sounds like a very dumb question, but it's been in my brain lately, is why do we have to meet yearly with regional center if Medi-Cal is covering those services?
If Medi-Cal pays for all of the services, is that what your question is?
Yes.
I think
Why
that's
is
just
that?
bureaucratic. Like, how would the bureaucracy continue if you didn't get to meet with them? I wish I had a better answer, but I suspect that if you're early days and you're moving into adulthood, some of those things will transfer and you will have different resources available going forward. Because I mean, things like respite would be provided through your regional center instead of Medi-Cal, to the best of my knowledge. I think that, I mean, I hear you. One more meeting, who needs them, right? But
right. Thank you for clarifying that. And I have been just asking myself this question. I mean, I don't mind, because it kind of helps develop, a program for the kiddos, but I sit there and I think if you aren't paying for the, ABA therapy or speech or OT, then why are we having these meetings? But I think you just answered my question. Is, they always try to offer respite services. So I'm assuming that that's what they're covering and that's why they want to meet.
I would. And then social recreational programs. Everyone here should, if they are wanting social and recreational programs, you should be talking to your service coordinator about finding out what's available near you. And I think that's a wonderful option. Kern Regional Center, where I am my daughter is served, has created some amazing things with local like gymnasiums and swim places for our kids to be, and these are for children. This isn't for adults, right? I'm talking about that age group, but they've really been proactive, and I hope that Westside has been equally proactive.
Very good. And that would all be covered through regional center. Is that correct?
That's exactly why you keep having meetings. There you go.
Awesome.
Yep.
I did not know that. That's a great education. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much. Kira, is there a question in the chat that we would like to address? I'm trying to go every other.
Yes, let me toggle back on over to that document.
Oh, you got them all written down. Good job.
I have a question from Hanny. Could a parent get the draft budget before the certified budget meeting?
For sure. Yes. Absolutely. Just request one right now. That they should absolutely be giving you the drafted budget so you can make sure it makes sense. Great questions. Thank you. As soon as you request that budget, your regional center should have some kind of a reasonable timeline to complete that request. And you would be able to go to your local advisory committee meetings and ask that question. How long should it take me to receive my draft of the budget certification tool? And hopefully someone can type that question in the chat, because I don't think I can say it again. So how long, like if you go ahead, Tim. Oh, are you going to type it for me? No, you're not.
For families and individuals that are struggling to find a FMS, I would have your name on all of their wait list. And by the time you have a certified budget and spending plan, you will most likely have an FMS ready to go. Please don't be discouraged on the FMS issue.
Agreed.
Hardest part that I think in self-determination to get your unmet needs met. The FMS waitlist is a huge issue, but it shouldn't stop anyone to be in the program.
And one of the data points that we've requested at the Kern Regional Center's local advisory committee, and I think that Westside does this as well, is figure out where are the pauses and where are the bumps in the process of moving into the self-determination program so that they can address that. So that way we'll know if the problems are really getting into the FMS or if there are other places along that timeline that we talked about at the beginning of the training. If in the timeline, like we know that there are problems at getting the budget quickly or getting the spending plan reviewed, not approved, reviewed in a timely manner, if there are problems in that area, then you can address those specific issues with your participant choice specialists. And I saw that question, what do the participant choice specialists do? And maybe Alex would be willing to tell us a little bit about that if he has a minute. I don't know if I can't see him on my screen right now, but some of the things that they do are they really just support those service coordinators, but every regional center can use them a little bit differently, but they don't have a caseload. So they should be able to help with figuring out your budget. They should be able to help with questions about your spending plan, and those kinds of challenges that they seem to be having trouble with in the different stages, I guess you could say, of the timeline. Those are things they can be helping with. I see Rachel Douglas has a question. Ideas for any people who are immune compromised and not comfortable going to public parks or other things. I'm going to share virtual options, but I don't know if you're looking for virtual gatherings, but those are okay. Oh, thank you, Carla. Let's see here. So I'd say virtual options, virtual events, virtual things if you're immune compromised. I'd love to see other people put suggestions into the chat. I can appreciate wanting to stay safe and healthy though, for sure. Hopefully some more people will be here. And actually, I just realized Cesar could tell us all about the participant choice specialist. If Cesar Garcia from Westside is willing to unmute himself and tell us a little bit about what your participant choice specialists are doing. Would you be willing? You're muted, my friend.
Hi, Kelly. Sorry, I'm
Oh, you know
multitasking.
what? The same problem I had, isn't it?
I need
Right.
to ask them to give them permission to speak. Actually, is it Melissa that you're asking to unmute?
I'm
Or who
actually
was it?
asking Cesar Garcia and then Melissa will be next. Did it work?
Yes. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hey, Kelly. Good evening. Yeah, Alex
evening.
stepped away. But yeah, that's a great question. What does a participant choice specialist do? So every regional center has that position. Most regional centers have, 3 or 4 participant specialists that are meant to be your experts on self-determination. That position was specifically created by the department, DDS, to support the full implementation of, and transition into self-determination for those that wanted to choose that. So your participant choice specialist will typically be your subject matter experts, and they will support service coordinators, program managers. They will be the liaisons to your FMSs. They can support, cases that have very unique difficulties, just like the ones mentioned here today, some of the FMS issues. They can jump in there and support those, those participants. But mainly, they are supposed to also be our community liaisons. They definitely always participate in our local advisory committee meetings as well. And they're there, again, just to really support the overall, implementation of self-determination at the regional centers.
Cesar, thank you so much. I'm going to
Sure.
maybe ask you more questions, so don't leave too far away.
No problem. You know what, Kelly, can I say one thing? To
Please.
the individual that asked about the regional centers, why do I need to stay with the regional center if I'm getting all my services through generic resources like Medi-Cal. Well, one of the biggest services that the regional center provides is case management, overall case management. So the fact that we have a service coordinator who you meet with on a yearly basis to, do a check-in. How are things going? What are the needs? How are things going with the outcome? To really match you with the resources, supports, whether they're generic or resources that perhaps can be, accessed through the regional center, or you may just need help navigating, the school district or Medi-Cal, or whatever the case may be. But you definitely brought up some really good ones. Every time that we meet every year, or, sooner if needed, is, we really discuss what is really going on and what are those needs, and potentially try and match those needs with the resources that we have that are not being addressed through the generic resources. So like respite, social recreational things, social skills for children. I know a lot of the services are typically addressed, through generic resources between the ages of 3 to, 18, 22 because of the school district. But there are other services that can support, different outcomes and needs that are in the IPP. And certainly once you transition to adulthood, it's a whole different world, whole different services for sure.
Those are really important things to mention. Cesar, thank you so much for making time to be here tonight and to share your thoughts on that. I really appreciate that so much.
Sure, my pleasure.
Appreciate it. Melissa Jones, go ahead. Can you unmute yourself by any chance? Maybe I have to click on something. I'm going to ask you to unmute. There you go.
Okay. So I'm a parent. My daughter started in self-determination in 2019, but I'm also an independent facilitator.
Okay.
So I wanted to ask one question specifically of Westside, and then I have just some general comments to share with the group. So
Perfect.
in regards to Westside, what are you guys doing to address the self-determination families that are eligible for increases in their budget due to the fact that traditional vendors got an increase?
Is that question for Cesar then?
Yeah, it's a Westside question.
Right. I can't answer Westside's question. So Cesar, can you respond to that? I'm going to ask you to unmute again. I don't know if it's, there you go.
Sure. Another great question. So definitely, there was a directive that came out from the department that specifically discussed how we would address rate increases or rate changes in self-determination. In the traditional system, it's very simple, right? Very specific. Vendors receive rate increases, and those went in into their rate, and the families never noticed that, right? Because it's all behind the scenes with the vendor. So on the self-determination side, there were definitely 3 specific reasons where the regional center can, support families that are in self-determination to address those rate changes. And you can do that by contacting your service coordinator to have a discussion about it. Very first one is, the minimum wage change. So if you were paying someone on your spending plan, minimum wage, right? And that's what you had accounted for in your spending plan. And because of your local or state, change in minimum wage, if that went up, then that would be one of the ways and the reasons why we would be able to adjust the budget. Also, another way is if you were using a vendor service or resource that provided services and supports in the traditional side, and on the self-determination side, if you're using that resource, then of course they were going to come to you and ask you, or let you know that the rate had gone up because it had been changed on the traditional side. And that's another reason why then the regional center would be able to adjust those rates in the budget as well. The third and final way that we can adjust rates is, again, having a conversation with your service coordinator. Basically, if the rate that your provider was, and it was a non-vendor resource, was charging, you were paying, a rate that was equivalent to a vendor of the traditional, and that rate went up. In other words, they were charging you more. Now it was already higher, and then that same service that the regional center provides in the traditional side got that rate increase, then we would be able to then also go ahead and increase the rate in your budget as well. So definitely first having that conversation with your service coordinator to go back and discuss that need so that those adjustments, can be made.
Cesar, can I have a follow-up to that question, actually?
Sure.
I'm sorry, Melissa. I'm wondering if in the next year's spending plan, if there's an automatic adjustment or if people have to know to ask their service coordinator.
So there's an automatic conversation to it because the
Okay.
tool that Westside uses to develop, year
Mhm.
2+ budgets has a section incorporated in that. So it doesn't go. So it's there for people to see, and that conversation is being had. And again, it's based on need. So folks
Yeah.
may not, because the budget that they had is addressing all of their needs, right? And nothing has changed about that.
Okay. Thank you so much. Melissa, what else did you have for your question?
Okay, well, this is more information.
Okay,
So
great.
in regards to the FMSs, I know somebody had written in the chat about Aviana had an 8-month wait list. Look on the DDS website and just look at all, because you will find that there's other FMSs that might be willing to work with your regional center that don't have that wait list. In regards to Tim's comment, and I love Tim to death, but a lot of the FMSs don't have a wait list. So somebody had posted in the chat, like GT Independence and Aviana, at least here in Southern California, they won't even talk to you till you have your budget and your spending plan. So I know a lot of times families are calling and they're not getting a return phone call because they're just overwhelmed. But as an IF, I know that you have to reach out to them once you have your budget and your spending plan. So every one of them is different.
Yes.
And it's just another reason why you need an IF. And I'm not trying to promote me at all because I'm swamped, but we just kind of know those things. Unmet needs. I think parents are very confused in self-determination because they see the list of services and they're like, oh my gosh, speech therapy is an unmet need. Chiropractor is an unmet need. Dental is an unmet need. They go through that list and they think that their needs are going to be met because they've talked about these things and they're not being addressed. Just remember, the need should be in your IPP. There's no doubt about it. But there's some things that regional center cannot fund for. So you can use your self-determination funds, but it's not going to be paid for in traditional services. And I think parents are very confused about that when they come to me and they think, they hear my needs aren't being met. I've talked about my unmet needs, but they're not being met. And there are things that regional center cannot meet in traditional services, which is why you do self-determination. So I just kind of wanted to make that clear to everybody. And
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So one of the things that is really important to remember is that if the traditional system doesn't address something, like doesn't have the speech therapy and you're in the school system, you're still going to have to use first the school system, also your private insurance, those same generic resources that exist in the traditional system still have to be used in the self-determination program. And I think there's a lot of training out there, but maybe I'm so commonly in these trainings that I have different ideas about where parents might be, because we actually get to run some of these things through your local advisory committee. They can actually provide you with additional trainings. Ask your local advisory committee for the things that you think that you need. Your IF can help you with some of these barriers, and they're the one who's going to probably be able to get you really good information about the regional center that you're associated with. Okay. All right, so we've got, let's see here. Raghu, do you want to ask your question? Do I have to ask you to unmute now? I don't know what happened. Oh, go ahead.
Hi.
Hello.
Yeah, hi, good evening, Kelly. So
Good
yeah, this question actually is for Mr. Garcia. I mean, we are with SARC, but he alluded to, sorry, I have a cold. He alluded to saying that once a client reaches adulthood, there are more services that opens up. And my son is actually an adult, but he's still in school. So does the client have to be both an adult and out of school, or just being an adult itself opens a lot of services? Because
it opens some, but maybe Cesar can address some of those that you might be talking about. Once you're 18, there are some things that are different, but then once you're out of the school system, there are lots of things that are different. Cesar, is that fair?
That's
Okay. Okay. So
okay, great.
it really, like, if you're still in the school system, that's still your generic resource, and you want to make sure you're utilizing that to the best of your ability. That's your first thing. And you still probably have private insurance. That's another thing. So those are those kinds of generic resources that will exist until maybe 22nd birthday, and then you can move on to the regional center being the primary support at that point, unless you're going to use the Department of Rehabilitation for education or for job coaching and searching. There are lots of things out there that you can be using. So
Okay, great.
apparently Cesar didn't disagree with me because he turned his video off. Good job, Kelly. All right, go ahead.
Great. It's so informational. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for the question.
Yeah.
Kira, can you tell me if there are any questions that I haven't looked at in that chat before I go back to some slides? And I don't have lots of more slides. I really want to be able to make this conversation and address questions. So do you have any more that do you want to look through it? And
yeah, of course, Kelly, I have a few more for you. And I just want to let you know, I am able to unmute people, so I can go ahead and ask them to unmute if you just repeat their name for me. I've got you covered.
Thank you so much.
Scrolling back up. So a little bit ago, we had Pam ask, once on SDP, will my child still have an IPP?
Sure will. Absolutely. Great question, Pam. You still have an IPP. You still have an IPP meeting. And in fact, you are not going to get your second year's budget until you have an assigned IPP. So you want to make sure you keep your timelines. Once you're moving into years 2 and 3 and 4, you're still going to have that check-in. Someone's got to make sure that they know what that case management looks like at the regional center. And that's our way to maintain that connection. Thank you for that question. I appreciate that. Thank you, Melanie. I appreciate the applause. That's so sweet. Anytime, Pam.
Kelly,
Stephanie had a question too. Can I get hers and then you can ask? Great, thanks, Stephanie. Go ahead. What is your question?
Is there a way to send a letter to the upper management regional center?
Well, sure. I think you'd have to find if you want like an official letter, you'd want to find their, maybe do a certified letter, like registered mail, so that it has to be signed for, or you could do an email. You can also do, is it 4731, file a complaint? Then they have to look at that. Is that the right number, friends? 4731, is that correct? Okay, thanks. I'm sorry that I know that. That's another possibility. And that would be like, if you're having a problem that needs to be addressed, you could fill out something like that. Maybe if you're not getting attention the way that the strategies you're using right now, those are some
I
options.
still don't have a case coordinator.
Oh, that should
They
be an
keep telling-
easy thing to solve. Having a case coordinator should be an easy problem to address. So maybe even calling the front desk and saying, like, at the person who's on duty for the day, you might just want to call them and say, I don't have a case coordinator. I need someone to be assigned to me and I need help. And that shouldn't.
Yeah, I even went to the supervisor and she keeps giving me the runaround.
Okay, then I think you're putting it in writing is a great idea, and you're gonna have to get that email or send it. If anyone has any other ideas for Miss Stephanie, please throw those into the chat for her, okay? There you go. I did the 4731 complaint there as well. You can do that. And then they can send it to the executive director of your regional center. Okay, friends. Kira, you had another question, I believe, before I go back to the slide.
We actually just had some tech issues, but they were just resolved. So I wanted to see if anyone else was having them, but we're all set. Kelly, you can go back to the slides and we can take
Wonderful.
questions.
I will do that. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate those questions, and we'll have time for some more too. Don't worry about that. That's my favorite part. So I want to make sure we have lots of time. Uh-oh, Amelia is going to join us.
What are you doing?
Oh, honey, we're doing a statewide talk now. Everyone say hello to Amelia. Hello, Amelia. Okay, now you're going to say goodbye, Mom. You can take my phone. Go ahead. Thanks, everyone, for your patience. I'm sure no one else has ever had this problem before. And there you go. Goodbye, love. All righty. Okay, you're going to use your quiet voice now, my love. Okay, so things that will help us avoid barriers. You can avoid them by avoiding these requests. Okay, so we know that you can't do some of these things. All right, they are not allowed, and we don't ask for them because we know they're not allowed. That's one barrier you can solve by yourself today. In your self-determination plan, you cannot pay for rent or a mortgage or food or a car or general home improvement. There are a bunch of things here that we can't do. Hold on, I'm going to see if. Okay, let's see how this works out. Tickets, entrance fees, places you want to be able to go. You're not going to be able to cover these with your self-determination program funds. There could be more things that they mention in the future, but one way to just avoid those no's that you hear is to not ask for things that they can't cover. The waiver does not allow for it. They're not being mean. They're following the law, and we appreciate them doing so because it's a lot of stuff for them to know. You can also make sure that your service coordinator knows that you have explored generic resources. That way, when you have a question about something that they may not understand, but you've already explored those generic resources. For example, I know someone who needs a bike because that's how he gets to work. We've already explored the public transportation system. There is a 2-hour bus ride or a 15-minute bike ride to get to his employment. The reasonable thing to do here is to approve that bike so that he can get himself, be more independent, get himself to work. It is not a hobby. It is not a thing for him to, he's not trying to be mean. He's trying to be employed and to contribute to his society and his community. And once they understood that this isn't because he loves to ride a bike, it's because it's the fastest way for him to get to work independently so that he can get to his shift on time, get himself home safely. And that's what we're talking about. Make sure that your service coordinator knows all of the things that that you know in order to make sure that they can cover the costs within that spending plan, because they're not approving the spending plan. They're reviewing it to make sure we're following the rules, okay? Make sure you're checking out things. If you've got rides to events from a family member, maybe you're going to use your community living coach. Maybe you're going to use a community education program to do a cooking class. Santa Clarita had a great one that was all Indian food, and I love Indian food. So I wanted to do that class. It'd be low cost. And then I could have my my coach come with me. If I were the person in the program, my coach comes with me, make sure that I'm supported as much as I need to be. And then I can participate with my community in the beautiful Indian cooking class and learn how to make saag paneer from scratch. Those are the kinds of things that are really helpful. Find those generic resources and then use the SDP funds to support you in the participation as much as possible. Check on Meetup or on Eventbrite for community event options that are interesting to you. Maybe you love musical concerts. Maybe you want concerts in the park. Maybe you only want to do virtual things because your immune system just does not participate like it used to. You know, use those events and find those communities and build them with the resources that you can find. First Fridays in Bakersfield, your community probably has something awesome too. You've got a list of them from that chat. You can keep those for your own heart and have make sure that you participate in your own community's events. Again, disc golf, free course at a local park, and you're away from other people. So for those of us who have immune systems that are not functioning the way we want them to, disc golf might be the thing. And you can come with Tim and me next time he's in Bakersfield. We'll all go together. And then SDP funds would help you get to those places. They'd help you pay for that community living coach with a wage that that community living coach can afford to work on. That's, for me as a mom, the most important thing, that the people who are working to support my daughter can afford to do the work. That's huge. My people need to know that they can pay their rent, that they can pay for their groceries. And all of those little pieces really do matter. Let's see here. When your service coordinator asks you questions about your plan, do a deep breath first, and we're going to assume goodness and kindness. And we're going to assume that this person really loves their job and that their questions will help them answer their boss's questions so that you can have your things reviewed more calmly and quickly. And when we are wrong about how wonderful the person is, we know how to request a new person, a new service coordinator if we have to, but that we've developed a good relationship and helped them maximize their professionalism in all areas of their work. Those are the kinds of things that they need from us. Now, I know that that's not always going to be the case, but I think we've all been in this long enough to know that we are fairly interdependent. We can't do this and access those regional center services without that collaboration. So those are things to keep in mind and to take deep breaths often for. I think Stephanie's hand is still up from last time, so I'm going to go to Yasmin. Yasmin Herrera, can you unmute yourself?
Hi, can you hear me?
I sure can.
Hi, hi everyone. Thank you for the floor to ask my question. So at the moment, I'm supporting my son with his spending plan. We're working with Alta Regional Center here in Northern California, and the regional center has given me a spending plan with a rate on it. And I was wondering if you could speak a little bit about the rate. And actually have two questions. The one is the rate that seems to me that the regional center is setting. So basically, in our case, I'm gonna try to be really quick. My son requires 2 people 2-to-1
Yep.
due to functional and behavioral challenges. And the regional center is recognizing that he would need that 24 hours a day. 2-to-1 would be 20 hours. I guess the other 4 would be the one person. So now the regional center is setting, I guess to calculate everything, is setting the rate at 33 per hour. And I brought to their attention that you know, we have 4 people and they're all getting paid a little bit different, because we have some more trained and some that are getting started. With that to say that I did ask for an increase on the homemaker program that we're doing, and it was increased at about 5,600 for the year. And then they're pushing other behavioral things, which is my second question. So my first question is on the rate that the regional center is calculating, the 2-to-1, 20 hours. And the fact that when they give me this update, it really doesn't match what they're acknowledging the support that my son needs. And the second thing, that even though we've already found a vendor for our behavioral intervention, my regional caseworker is in all the emails. She sent me the updated spending plan with a crisis home that they work with, which is CALA for Alta. And I wanted you to educate me, use me as an example, and see how it is that we can work through the rate, the level of support, the first part of the question, and the second part of the question. I have found an independent BCBA that my son used to work with some years back that is willing to do the evaluation. And basically, I'm not, I have my reservations about the regional center recommendation for various reasons that I don't have to go into
Sure.
right now.
I think one of the things a lot of us have reservations about is how are they figuring out those rates? So if they already have a vendor in mind who would do that 2-to-1 ratio, that should be the rate that they're talking about. And that $33 an hour, I assume, is 33 twice, right? For 20 hours. So you would be able to hire your people either as co-employer model or sole employer model and meet his needs with each of those individuals. There's a lot of really like specific information. So I'm really just going to talk about the things that are kind of overarching and all encompassing here. So you've got the rates. You can ask them how they came to those rates, but maybe what you need to do is find the vendor and see what their rate is and make sure that they match. Like, just get that information. You might be able to Google it, just go and figure out where those rates are. I know once upon a time I was able to find regional centers vendor rates online. And then if you can't find that, they're probably looking at the median rate. And that is probably going to be a harder argument to win. I think in your case, you might want to talk to the ombudsman person's office, because I think they would be able to address your concerns about what you're actually seeing. And as I know, you've given us a lot of detail, and I wish I could give you better information that would help you, but I think you're going to need somebody to just look at it with a fine-tooth comb and go through each of the pages of that budget certification tool with you to make sure that it actually makes sense. Because I understand your frustration. It's a difficult situation, but I don't know that it's not correct, right? It might be still the correct information. That was the first part of your question. And then the other part was, oh shoot, what was part 2?
Oh, no problem. The part 2 is I have reservations using the behavioral.
Oh, the behavioral part.
Yeah.
So the BCBA with whom you're wanting to work, is that if that person's not already registered with your regional center, then what you're probably going to need to do is get that approved by his service coordinator so that person could do that assessment. But I think you can already tell he needs the behavioral support. So you might be able to argue that you don't need an assessment at all, and you should just figure out what that looks like.
Yeah, we already have a budget. They're already giving us, I don't know how they came up with it, but $4,000 for the eval.
Okay,
What I was told
well,
in
because
our
that's
back-
probably what they have approved.
Okay, yes, and then so my question is that I feel like I'm being pressured to use their provider, and I have reservations about them because I'm just gonna go into one second. I know you hear these stories every day. My son was inpatient. I went to a regional center when he was released to get in-home support. They offer Cala Crisis Home here in Northern California.
Right. You mentioned that. Mhm.
Yeah, I went ahead and brought my home and started integrating him home into the community. Turned that down. The regional center did not offer absolutely anything else. We were new to California, didn't really know anything, just trying to like survive and support him and all of that. And so I after when that happened, we turned it down. I did a little bit of digging, and I have my reservations about them.
Sure.
And
And if you have your reservations about them, I think as parents, we have to follow our gut on those things. I think oftentimes following that, that thread of, if you feel uncomfortable with something, there's probably a reason. So that's why I think you really want to check in with the ombudsman person's office, because they're going to be able to help you with your specific case. And I would hate to give you information that is not accurate for your regional center. Okay. All right. Tim, what were you going to add?
Kelly, let's not play disc golf in the summer in Bakersfield.
Reasonable. Yeah.
Melissa Jones, thank you so much for correcting me. I always appreciate your insight. Paying a livable wage is most important to me because with the assistance from my team members, I would not be here. For my spending plan, I made sure to let my independent facilitator know that paying my team is most important to me, more so than any services I need from SDP. We have to remember, if there is no team to help you or your loved one, there is no self-determination no matter what the rates are.
Tim, I think that point is incredibly important. If you don't have a really solid person-centered plan and you don't have goals to match with the spending and the supports and all of these things, it's not going to matter if the rate's $30 or $100. It's not going to matter, because you're what we call it in education is beginning with the end in mind, right? Like, where do you want to get to? And then how do you build the steps to get to that point? And if you can't like map out that process, it's not going to matter how much money. You could have $10, you could have $10,000. If you don't know where you're going, any route will get you there, right? So that's part of and that's part of the frustration too, right? When we don't know what life could look like, then we have to start envisioning that with that person-centered planner and get the help we need to make those recommendations, to get recommendations for our own supports, because that just brings it outside. And I think as parents, I love being a parent. I love being my kid's mom, and that's great. But at some point, my daughter is probably not going to want me making these decisions. She's going to want to make them. I think you just met her, right? It's pretty clear. She's just going to do what she's going to do. And I have to deal with that. So I think one of the things we want to keep in mind is it's not my plan. I need to make sure that I am preparing my daughter, and she's a kid now. I know lots of you have adults, and that's great. And lots of you are adults, and that's even better. But she's the one who the plan is about. And I don't get to make all those decisions. She wants to be an American Ninja Warrior. That's the direction. It's where we're going, people. Kira, do you have another question before we keep going?
Yeah, many questions, but we'll just give you one. Let's see here.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a good question from Judy. Regional Center of East Bay and NorCal limits families to only 9 FMSs. If all 9 FMSs are waitlisted, should families just keep waiting, or are there other options?
Well, I think that the suggestion that came up earlier was I think that was from Melissa Jones, right? To click on where it says all and see if an FMS that's not on your list would be willing to do a courtesy vendorization with Regional Center of the East Bay. That's really what they're asking. And that was the recommendation. So if you find one that doesn't have a wait list, you say, hey, would you be willing to work with Regional Center of the East Bay? Can we do a courtesy vendorization? That's the magic word with them so that you can have that FMS work with your regional center. Then you might have a solution. Try it. I mean, we can't, worst case scenario is they say no, and then you just have to move on with life. No problem. I see a question from Mary in the chat, but I also see Mary's hand up. So Mary, go ahead. Why don't you ask your question out loud?
Hold on a second. I forgot what I was going to ask you.
Oh,
I'm eating
no,
my
I'm so
dinner
sorry. I did see
and
that this
listening to
started
you
at
at the
7. It
same
did
time.
not. It started at 6. That is
I
the
know,
one
I
question.
must have typed it wrong on my calendar.
I do that.
My
I
apologies.
understand. No worries. I'm glad you're here now.
Okay,
you-
I wanted to ask you something. I know some people get OT and they get a psych into their PCP or IPP plan under a different name.
Okay.
And they're having it paid by FMS.
Okay.
But when you ask for it, if you're not in SDP, how can you ask for that? Because I'm also a parent vendor for a lot of services my son needs. I'm not quite sure this SDP is the right program for us because we're already getting a lot of the services. But
those are
I've
kind of two
noticed-
different thoughts, right? So one
Right.
is if you can get it, if you already have access to those things in the traditional system, those funds would just go into the self-determination system and you would decide how to allocate the funds. The second question is self-determination program right for you? And that's a personal question. I don't feel like we know each other well enough, Mary, for me to help you with that. But without being too silly, if your needs are all met and you're able to pay people enough to keep them working with you, and people are earning a living wage and all of those other things are under control, then I want to move to where you live, because that was not the case for my daughter's plan before. But maybe different parts of California are cheaper to live in. I mean, I'm in Bakersfield. It's pretty cheap here compared to where y'all live. So but so we've got, I see not all the needs are met. Oh, so if not all of your needs are met, that's why you would move into the self-determination program. You would change the way that you allocate the funds to better meet your needs. That would not be the same as the way that it is done now. So like if you are in what is it called? If you are in the traditional system and you've got traditional vendors, that's one way to do this. But then if you wanted to take the funds from what the traditional vendors can do and put them into the self-determination program, you'd have the same amount of money, but you'd have to figure out how to allocate it to the things that are met. You might not get additional funds though, because the unmet needs have to exist in the traditional system. It's not like you can go to the self-determination list of services and just pick those out and they'll have funds for you. That's not how it works. You have to be able to get those funds from the traditional system. And they have to exist in the traditional system. And they have to be something that your regional center can fund in the traditional system. Okay. How do you add OT or psych or OT? Oh, sorry. Into the IPP? If you already have denials from your private insurance, from Medi-Cal, from all of the other places where that could be paid, then you can share that information with the regional center. You'd have your doctor's note, I need this service. And that's the way that you get those generic resources to pay for things first. Nope, there's no way to do it without going through Medi-Cal. That I cannot help you with. That is not a way to do it. You have to go through your, what is it called? You have to go through your generic resources first. And Medi-Cal is one of them. I see Melanie's hand up. Go ahead, Melanie. I don't know if you can unmute though.
Am I talking here?
You are.
Okay. I was thinking I could help, help with this because my daughter needs a medical bed that helps her to sit up because of her, with Down syndrome, lots of GERDs. So hopefully this will hopefully answer Mary's question. We didn't take it out of the self-determination program because Alta Regional said, hey, wait a minute, we'll pay for that. So what I did, I think what people get confused with is they think that they're going to lose what they already have if they switch to self-determination. I've had lots of parents over here and helping them get started with self-determination. The first thing they say is, oh, I'm going to lose all my other stuff. No, 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 you're not. It just gets transferred. Alta Regional has their shoebox. I call it the shoebox of traditional. So they have, you know, all the things that were provided for my daughter, camp, art programs, community programs. Well, when those shut down during COVID, now those sources, if they don't have any more things to offer my daughter to meet her needs, then we take that money from the budget and move it to self-determination. Now with the bed, I put it in with self-determination and Alta said, no, wait, we can pay for that. So rather than take it out of my self-determination budget, I did provide a medical note, a prescription from my doctor. And then I had to get a denial from Medi-Cal that said, no, we won't cover that. And what was the other thing? And then a doctor's note, a prescription. And anyway, so those 3 documents I presented to Alta Regional, they're taking it to a meeting, then they will release extra funds separate from my money from self-determination. And that is how that process works. But I can't emphasize to people more, I'm loving that you're stressing the person-centered plan. Without that person-centered plan, you're not going to go anywhere. You're not going to go anywhere. And that's where parents have to think outside the box, and you have to be prepared and do your homework and know how much things cost and prepare yourself so that you can help your caseworker move forward.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that, Melanie.
I hope that helped, Mary.
Appreciate that. Kira, what were you going to say? And then I think Mary still has a thought she wanted to finish up with.
Yes, I wanted to note that Mary had a thought she wanted to finish with, and also just put out a reminder that we're coming on close to 10 minutes close to the meeting, and we do have to stop at 8 p.m. sharp in order to let go of our interpreters. So just a reminder. And also,
and actually one of the questions I want to finish with Mary. I know she's not finished yet, but I do want to make sure. Oh, she's got her unmute. Thank you. One of the things I'd really like to make sure we do is get the Spanish language questions, because I don't think we've gotten those yet. So if we could switch to I'm not sure who's interpreting right now, if it's Maya or Lorna, but I'd love to get their questions. So if they could prep that while we're listening to Mary, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Go ahead, Mary.
So I have
Sorry about
talked to several independent facilitators,
Mhm.
and under independent facilitators, they're telling me that they could put OT under social skill or intercommunity integration. They put psych under executive functioning. They have like various different ways instead of having to address some of these medicals under other terms and be able to get it paid.
Is that a question or is that just a statement?
Yeah,
that
I'm
that's
just
what they're
wondering,
planning to do?
how does that work? What's your experience been?
If it's actually psychological services and they're doing therapy, then putting it under the psychiatric services is the appropriate place to put it. But if you're really working on executive functioning skills, then you could put it in lots of places. I mean, I think what's really important is to have an authentic plan with authentic goals and to make sure that the services meet those goals. So if the goal is to improve your executive functioning, and then you've got to do that with an executive functioning coach, and that's what you're doing, that's where you would put it. And then if you've got social skills that you're trying to work on, and you find somebody who knows a lot about occupational therapy, who's great with social skills, then that's what you could do. But if you call it occupational therapy, it needs to be provided by an occupational therapist. And if you call it psychiatric services, it needs to be provided by somebody who meets the qualifications of that defined area. They have the definitions are all in those books or in the DDS page for the definitions of service codes. And your independent facilitator can help you get that if you don't know where those are. And I don't know, maybe Kira's already thinking about putting that link in the chat if you
No,
have
I'm
it.
just saying that a lot of independent facilitators are not saying it that it's OT, or they're not saying it as a psych. They're just writing it under different names instead of
Okay.
having it put under those names, which then they say, okay, you need to go to your insurance or your Medi-Cal, whatever. So I'm just, and they're getting it paid at $110 an hour.
Okay.
And it's not getting questioned. So I'm just wondering, how is that being worked that way instead of the traditional service?
Because it's a service that's meeting the goal that's in the person-centered plan. Then, and
Okay.
that's like that, that's what
So I
it is.
guess it's the wording, right? That's the way you
Everything
word
is
it.
the wording. Use the wording from the definitions of the ideas, of the definitions of the service codes themselves
Uh-huh.
to create that so that it does this, so that they match and that they are the same thing. No one's trying to be sneaky. They're just trying to meet the goals that are in your person-centered plan. And in order to meet those goals, you need to define the goals very carefully. That's what we were talking about last week. I think you were there as well.
Right. Okay. Thank you. And then a car, did you have any answers?
Car?
Bicycle versus a car or transportation?
So I'm sorry, what's the question?
How do they determine what the mode of transportation is supposed to be?
Well, the most generic resource that's appropriate for the individual is what they're going to recommend. So if you can use public transportation, that would be what they're going to say, well, we'll get you the funding for your bus pass or for your whatever that is. They're not going to say, let's get you funding for Uber, night and day all the time. They're not going to offer, like, that's not going to be an offer. They're not going to increase your budget if there are generic resources available or that are appropriate. But it's about appropriate versus not appropriate though. But we've got a lot more
Kelly,
questions. And not
let's
very many
take
more
some
minutes.
questions from Lorna and Mayra.
Thank you, Tim. Let's get some questions from Lorna and Maya. Can you guys switch to English? I can. Thank you. Okay. That's really frustrating. I can understand why that would be a very unpleasant thing. Is there something that she has a question about for the self-determination program barriers, Maya? It's wonderful that her school psychologist is hoping to help her navigate this challenging part. I always like it when school staff are helping. Wonderful. Okay, are there any more that you want to share with us? I saw a couple in Spanish. Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I didn't really hear a question in that one either. Is there a question about the I heard family psych, but I don't know if that's what the question was. If you wanted to create something like that in the self-determination program, again, going back to those person-centered planning goals, like that, if that were a goal in that plan that you've created for your loved one and with your loved one, you want to make sure that you've got services and supports that connect to that. You could figure out a way to create that. So that's, no. I think it might just be you, Claudia, because I could hear Maya, but maybe she moved to the translation differently. Are you okay now? Okay. I guess she moved to the English channel. Maybe that was why. You can't hear either. Oh, man. I don't know what happened there. I'm going to go to the last, we have like one more question and then Kira, and then we'll be good for the evening. And I will thank you all for being here. Annie, what is your question for us, my friend? Please unmute yourself.
Okay. If my child receive ABA from the traditional
Yes
regional center, can when we switch to SDP, is that fund only can use for ABA or can be used for other services?
So if you already qualify for the ABA and then you want to move into the new program and use those for other ways that would address the goals and the needs that are in your person-centered plan?
Yes.
Are you asking if you have to use it in the same way? You can use it in ways that address the goals that are in your plan.
Address the goal. So the goal have to
always
be
have to have a goal. If there's no goal, there's no reason to spend money on it. So make a goal so that it matches. Like maybe you want to have more practice interacting with other people and have a communication type goal, and you want to use community integration supports to do that. You'll have like a person there to coach your loved one, and you'll have those interactions as part of the day to keep practicing things. Maybe you want to use the ABA sometimes, and you want to do more practice out in the world other times. There are lots of ways to make that work for you, for your family, and you'll be in really good shape. Thank you for your question. Kira, last things, we're just going to say goodbye, I think, or do you have a thing to say?
I had a question, but I think we're out of time, so I will let you wrap up here, Kelly.
Thank you, everyone, for being here with us tonight and spending some time talking about barriers and ways to solve those issues. Carla, would you like to say goodbye to our friends by any chance? Would you be willing? Except for now, you have to unmute.
Hi, yes. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much for being
here.
Bye.